The program you're about to see is a tribute to Gene Siskel. I lost my good friend last week when Gene Siskel passed away. My colleague and sparring partner was only 53 years old when he died from an illness he'd been fighting since last May. Gene continued as long as he could to do the job he loved. On the first few shows after his surgery, he phoned in his reviews from his hospital room. Then he returned here to the set where only a month ago he was seated right there across from me in the balcony reviewing the latest movies. People have asked me why he continued working so long when he was ill, and the answer, I think, is he had a real passion for his job and he thought it was worth doing. This program is a collection of memories of the Gene Siskel that we knew, not only the film critic, but the journalist, the sports fan, and the very funny guy. On this first segment of Remembering Gene Siskel, we thought we'd go back and retrace the evolution of the Siskel and Ebert program, how a couple of newspaper guys from Chicago found themselves on TV. In our early days, all either one of us ever wanted to do was work for a newspaper, but then somehow we both got television jobs, and in our early appearances, we looked just a little ill at ease.
And in this movie, his name was Spiegel, which is Swedish for mirror.
In an interview earlier today in our newsroom, Jessica Lange told us she was really roughed up while working on this mechanical monster movie.
Little did either one of us know that we were about to be given the opportunity to work together, and for that matter, little did either one of us desire that. In the autumn of 1975, Chicago's public broadcast station, WTTW, decided there ought to be more talk on TV about the movies. The name of the program is opening soon at a theater near you, and seated across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, the film critic of the Chicago Tribune and Channel 2 News.
This is Roger Ebert, the film critic from the Chicago Sun-Times. And on tonight's program, we'll be looking at 4 new feature films that are playing in town.
Opening soon gave way after a season to sneak previews, and a producer named Thea Flom rode shotgun on us in those contentious early years.
When we began this show, it was on not once a week, but once a month. So I would meet them once a month. We would get together to have lunch to discuss the show. And they would argue about everything, because each of them was afraid that the other one was going to get ahead of him. So we would argue they would argue with each other about where we were going to have lunch, picking out the restaurant. They would flip a coin to see who would get to do the main review on each movie. They would flip a coin to see who would get to go first at the beginning of the show.
Thea also introduced us to a series of animal partners.
It's time for Dog of the Week, the regular feature on this show where each of us picks the week's worst movies.
That's right, Gene, and my dog this week is a fish called Piranha.
Well, now, continuing on the subject of bad movies, here's Spot the Wonder Dog, the cinematic canine who can spot a bad flick easier than he can find a fire hydrant.
Oh, here he is,
My
Gene.
goodness,
Sparky the Wonder Dog leaping into the balcony. Hold on a minute, Gene. Here he is, Zeke the Wonder Dog, bounding into the balcony, jumping into the chair, sitting down, doing his trick, and
leaving it.
After 6 years of public television, we made the move to commercial syndication, and we called our new show At the Movies. In 1986, we moved over to Buena Vista Television, which has been our broadcasting home ever since.
Where did the thumbs idea come from?
Boy, I don't remember.
I came up with that idea. And before me, the Romans.
Why is the show Siskel and Ebert? And by the way, will it ever be Ebert and Siskel?
No.
You've signed on to Siskel and
There's a long story about that, a long story. You know, I'm older. I've been a movie critic longer. E comes before S in the alphabet. I've got the Pulitzer Prize, and yet it's called Siskel and Ebert. And if you want to know why that is, you can ask Siskel.
Flip of the coin. It was a flip of the coin. I would have been more than willing to have it be Ebert and Siskel, but it will never be that way.
I first met Gene in 1969, about 6 years before our first TV show. In those early years, I don't think we had one single conversation of any length on any subject. I guess we preferred it that way because we were rivals working for competing newspapers. Only later did I learn the life story of a kid born on the north side of Chicago, where his first movie memories were of the old Nortown Theater.
As a child, I saw movies here on the north side of Chicago at the Northtown Theater. It was an 8-block walk from my house to the theater here, and I felt like an adult for the first time, picking the pictures I wanted to see, eating the candy I wanted to eat. The films that made the greatest impact on me, the early Disney pictures, films like Dumbo.
Rest your head close to my heart, never to part, baby of mine.
He attended the Wick Clinton School and in recent years enjoyed going back to talk to the students there.
That's me in the 2nd grade, back in the corner with the bow tie.
It was in my 3rd grade classroom here at Clinton, a room much like this, that I first really felt good about myself as a student. The teacher, Miss Rudolph, took me aside and privately taught me long division. She made me feel like a star.
I had never seen this footage before. Gene on his graduation day from Yale, where he majored in philosophy. At the Chicago Tribune, after less than a year on the neighborhood news section, he talked his way into the temporarily vacant movie critic's job by writing a letter to the editor. Years later, he added TV Guide to his schedule of weekly assignments. And besides our show, Gene had another national audience on CBS This Morning, where he reviewed movies and interviewed movie people. But Gene's first TV job, beginning in 1974, was as the movie critic for WBBM Channel 2 in Chicago, where he had a lot of fun with anchormen Bill Curtis and Walter Jacobson.
The reason you didn't see the plane crashing into the building is that the film clip Warner Brothers supplied me with doesn't show the plane crash. Warner Brothers doesn't want you to see the plane crash into the building because it looks so cheap. But as a public service, I'm going to try to demonstrate the crash. I bought these toys this afternoon. Here's what the Medusa crash looks like. If this is a hit, I'm going to do the Burning of Atlanta tomorrow from Gone with the Wind.
It was as a journalist that Gene made his mark, landing a lot of big stories, including an interview he was really proud of with President Clinton.
Didn't you like that Shall We Dance?
Terrific.
Damn, I thought that
both
was
those
good.
two guys.
Gene had an interesting description of his job. He called it covering the national dream beat. He thought the movies reflected what people loved and hated, desired and feared, and if you studied the movies people went to, you could learn a lot about their feelings. Of course, we didn't always agree on exactly what those feelings were. When we come back, some of our favorite moments from here in the balcony.
The brutally honest Gene that you saw on television debating with Roger Ebert was also the real deal. He didn't mince words with anybody, me either. He told me once when I was nominated for an Oscar for The Color Purple, he told me, "You're not going to win. You are not going to win." Thank you, Gene.
We've seen all the movies, and frequently the voters have not.
But surely you wouldn't want to interfere in the voting process.
I would love
by
to interfere.
influencing these people, you know, who have their own opinions that they want to express.
I would love to interfere, and I'll even say this. I think that your opinion would even be worthwhile including.
You know, actually, if we do that, the thing is, we weren't just pretending to ignore Johnny Carson there. We really were ignoring him. There were times when Gene and I became absolutely obsessed with being right and with pounding down the other guy's arguments. It really mattered to us what the other guy thought. And we've been doing this for so long that we weren't just having an argument. Basically, we were implying that the other guy was wrong. He was misguided. He was witless. He totally missed the point.
I have never felt a kill in a movie quite like that, ever, in any Vietnam film.
Not in Apocalypse Now, not in The Deer Hunter?
Not like that. Not like that. There is so much good in this film, I say it's good. Worth seeing.
Well, but
I would not. So if a friend asked me to see it, I'd say see it, but be prepared to be disappointed. Go see The Black Stallion instead. There's a film with Little Di that's so much better.
I'm not wrapping myself in the flag of children. You're wrapping yourself in the flag of the sophisticated film critic who's seen it all.
No, boredom. Boredom with Benji running. There are parts of it that are so bad, and there are parts of it that are strong, and I think you do know a little bit how to do the dance. You just get close and work out.
This movie has the kind of chemistry between the grown-up world and a smart kid that I looked for and missed in Home Alone 2. It's amusing, it moves, and somewhat to my surprise, I liked it.
Wow, where's your big red suit and beard, Santa? You just gave them a gift.
You didn't like this movie?
No, the bear wasn't interesting, number one.
Oh, I was interested in the bear.
It's a real toss-up.
Especially when it was chasing them.
It's a toss-up, oh good, as opposed to hibernating.
Some people thought we fought all of the time, but actually we agreed most of the time. A lot of movies were clearly good or clearly bad, leaving only the ones in the middle to argue about. Gene loved it when he found a movie he could really praise.
Because here we are with Hollywood cinema spending tens of millions of dollars to faithfully recreate towns and villages and everything else. And here, with people talking at a dinner table, it's just as fascinating. Millions died, we learn in this film, because a lot of people wanted them dead. Because the rest of the world